Okay, so we've all been there, right? Caught in life's relentless current, feeling swept away by the ups and downs, and you're wondering, is the situation a curse or actually a blessing? It's a pretty universal feeling, isn't it?
It really is.
But what if every single challenge, especially like in your spiritual life, what if it follows this incredibly precise divine algorithm, a sort of cosmic code designed not to, hinder you, but actually to accelerate your journey?
That's exactly what we want to unravel today. We're taking a deep dive into what we're calling the divine algorithm of spiritual growth. And we're pulling some really profound insights from ancient wisdom, particularly Srimad Bhagavatam, a 6-point Lancino Yuan-Teen, which paints this vivid picture of the river waves of life.
Right. So our mission today is really to unpack these sources, help you understand how those events that seem so negative, or even just everyday struggles, how they might actually be precisely orchestrated for your accelerated spiritual evolution.
Yeah, it's about finding the hidden logic, you could say, inside what looks like chaos.
And to really get a handle on these principles, we're going to follow the extraordinary journey of King Chitraketu Maharaja. His transformation, his whole story is just a perfect illustration of how this divine algorithm actually unfolds.
It really is. His story has these like distinct phases, these spiritual lessons almost.
Yeah, like phase one, you see him, he's this powerful king, but he goes through immense loss, this heartbreaking gain, and then the tragic loss of his son. It was just a crucible of despair for him.
Absolutely. Then phase two, totally different. He meets the great sage Narada. He receives these sacred mantras, and suddenly he's like a cosmic traveler moving through the universe with divine power.
But it's phase three that gets really interesting, isn't
Oh,
it?
definitely.
He offers this maybe ill-timed critique of Lord Shiva, gets cursed, transforms into this powerful demon of Atrasura, only to ultimately return to Godhead, the ultimate spiritual home.
And here's where that hidden algorithm just shines. It's incredible.
Yeah.
The great Vedic scholar, Vivanatha Chakravarti, he explains this so
What
clearly.
does he say?
He says, this wasn't just random bad luck, not a series of unfortunate events at all. It was the supreme personality of Godhead's precise, compassionate plan for Chitraketu.
Whoa.
That curse, becoming Vajrasura, that was the direct engineered path for him to quickly get back to the spiritual realm, Vaikuntha Loka.
So wait, every bug was actually a feature, engineered for faster growth.
Exactly. Engineered for accelerated spiritual evolution. It's an astounding level of divine orchestration once you really see it.
Okay, so how are we going to decode this blueprint for you, the listener? We're going to look at this divine algorithm from three different angles. Each one shows a different facet of the same truth, right? And they all point towards deeper surrender, deeper love.
That's the plan. First up, we'll dive into spiritual physics, the actual science, you could say, behind spiritual transformation.
Then we'll navigate relationship psychology, looking at some, advanced algorithms for handling spiritual corrections, especially when they come from places you don't expect.
Right. And finally, we'll just briefly touch on the subtle neuroscience of pride, basically. How even spiritual success can kind of repattern a devotee's thinking, and how the divine algorithm even accounts for that.
So by the end of this deep dive, you should have a pretty comprehensive toolkit for understanding and hopefully thriving through every phase of your own spiritual journey. Let's start with something powerful. Volcanoes.
Yes, the volcano principle. It's a great analogy. Volcanic eruptions, they cause immediate destruction, obviously. But afterwards, they leave behind incredibly mineral-rich soil.
Right, the best soil.
Exactly. It's this paradox, a foundation for new, super strong growth. And spiritually, our eruptions, those moments of destruction, they do the same thing. They lay the groundwork for accelerated evolution.
But it's not just about sitting back and taking it, is it?
No, not at all. The real power isn't just enduring the destruction. It's about actively spotting the fertile ground. Afterwards, figuring out which specific attachments or illusions got cleared away. That creates new space for, intense, pure devotion.
Creation through destruction.
Precisely. And Chitraketu's story nails this. Parvati's curse was his eruption, looked like a total disaster.
Yeah.
His birth as the demon Victrasura, that was the lava flow. It seemed like it buried his old devotional self.
But the results.
The fertile ground that emerged was this incredibly heightened, pure focus on Krishna. An intense feeling of separation that ultimately fueled profound growth and, sped up his return to the spiritual world. The destruction was the catalyst for this amazing bloom.
Okay, so the volcano shows the raw power. Let's get into the mechanism a bit more. How do opposite forces work together? That brings us to the water-saliva paradox.
Right. Think about HO, just water. As water, it helps things grow, creates life, like a seed sprouting. Simple.
Okay.
But as saliva, which is mostly HO, it does something almost opposite. It breaks down food, digests it so we can absorb nutrients.
Huh. Same stuff, totally different jobs.
Exactly. Same substance, different but equally vital functions. Spiritually, this helps us see how advancement can feel like a creation phase, like growth.
Yeah, building things up.
While challenges can feel like a destruction phase, breaking things down. But the hidden truth, the paradox, is both phases serve the exact same goal: deepening our Krishna consciousness.
So it's like one helps you absorb spiritual nutrients, the other helps digest the material stuff you don't need.
Yeah. They're two sides of the same divine coin. There's this really powerful story, the Avanti Brahmana. He was a renunciant, got cheated, abused, lost everything.
Oh, wow. What did he do?
He didn't curse them. He actually thanked the merchants who cheated him
Thank them. Why?
because he realized their destructive actions had effectively digested his last bits of material attachment. It made his spiritual nutrients, his devotion, much more absorbable. He saw it as a gift, an act of liberation.
That's a profound perspective.
Isn't it? And once you grasp that paradox, that mechanism, you can appreciate the underlying law, the energy conservation law.
Some physics, right. Energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed.
Exactly. And the spiritual parallel is just, well, breathtaking. The devotional energy you build up over lifetimes, it's never lost.
Never. Even when things go wrong.
Never. Apparent setbacks are just energy transformations. They're not losses. Think of it like your spiritual energy isn't depleted, it's just recalibrated.
Recalibrated.
Yeah, like maybe higher spiritual states need a different energy configuration. Setbacks aren't losses, they're like divine upgrades, forcing a higher configuration of your consciousness. They accelerate your journey by making you shed what doesn't serve your ultimate focus anymore. And Krishna, he's the ultimate energy manager, orchestrating this perfectly.
So Chittagatu's curse.
Didn't diminish his spiritual energy at all. It changed his form, not the amount. As Trishura, he achieved this incredibly intense, higher configuration of devotion. He was 100% focused on Krishna, zero material distractions left.
Wow.
And this applies directly to you, listening right now. Every sincere prayer, every little act of service, every moment you surrender, it's all permanently stored in your spiritual energy account. You're building this imperishable spiritual capital. It doesn't matter who or what seems to be causing your challenges.
Krishna never wastes any sincere effort. He's always upgrading your spiritual operating system.
You got it. Using whatever agents seem necessary at the time.
Which leads us, I think, to one of the most, maybe, radical ideas here.
Yeah.
The Bull's algorithm wisdom, the non-identification protocol.
Yes. Picture this. Maharaja Parikshit meets this bull who represents religious principles, dharma. But 3 of his legs have been cut off. He's suffering.
Okay.
So Parikshit asks the obvious question, who did this to you? Who cut off your legs? Who caused your suffering?
Makes sense. You'd want to know.
But the bull's response, this is in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.17.8022, it just transcends simple forgiveness. He says basically, oh, great king, it's really hard to figure out who the specific miscreant is because we get bewildered by all the different opinions of philosophers.
So he doesn't know, or won't say.
He goes further. This is the crucial part. He says the spiritual destination, the consequence, intended for the perpetrator, is also intended for the one who identifies the perpetrator.
Wait, what? If I point the finger, I get their karma too.
That's the identifier paradox, exactly.
Yeah.
If you insist on blaming someone, you effectively invite their consequence onto yourself. Identifying the perpetrator means you're spiritually participating in the offense.
So it's better to just suffer it than to accuse, even if you know who did it.
That seems to be the implication. It's a really high standard.
That's the algorithm breakthrough then. Going from they hurt me, which leads straight to victim thinking and getting tangled in karma.
To the bull's method. Krishna arranged this, which leads to learning the lesson and keeping your devotion intact. Real spiritual freedom comes when you dissolve that whole victim-perpetrator dynamic at its root.
By seeing Krishna's arrangement, you don't just forgive. You unplug from the whole circuit of blame and resentment.
Exactly. You reclaim your spiritual energy instantly. And that's why the bull was recognized as religion personified his response, perfectly embodied Dharma.
Yeah.
Refusing to even create that victim-perpetrator dynamic, seeing Krishna's hand in everything.
Okay, that's powerful, but I can imagine some listeners thinking, wait, suffering is God-sent grace. That's hard to swallow when you're in real pain. How do you apply this without just becoming passive, letting bad things happen?
That's a really important question. It's not about passivity. It's about reclaiming your agency, your internal state. The pain is absolutely real, no question. But the suffering, the resentment that lingers, the victim story we tell ourselves, the anger, that part is a choice.
Mm.
When we see Krishna's arrangement, it isn't giving permission for injustice to continue. It's an internal release from its grip on us. It
Mm.
lets us respond from wisdom and love, maybe even take action, but not react from blame. We handle the external situation with clarity, but keep our internal peace.
Okay, that makes more sense. So the ultimate example of this in practice.
For that, we look at the Jesus Christ standard. The purport to our main verse mentions this. Jesus Christ faced immense difficulty, unjustly crucified by people acting out of ignorance.
Right.
Yet he showed no anger, no resentment towards his tormentors. That's the advanced algorithm in action, even under horrific torture.
So the steps are, don't blame the torturers. They're instruments.
Maintain love. See them as souls caught in ignorance.
Extract the lesson, what's Krishna teaching me here?
And crucially, avoid karmic contamination. Blaming just multiplies the offense, draws you into it.
Why is not identifying, not blaming so critical then?
Well, dwelling on blame creates anger, resentment, huge obstacles to devotion, right? It builds that victim consciousness, which immediately cuts you off from feeling connected to Krishna.
And it makes you complicit in their karma.
Ironically, yes.
Yeah.
And maybe worst of all, it completely blocks you from seeing Krishna's guiding hand.
Yeah.
You miss the real lesson meant for you.
Whereas the non-victim algorithm says.
It recognizes no one acts without Krishna's sanction, ultimately. Both the good stuff and the bad stuff, benefit and loss, are God-sent grace. A true devotee doesn't really suffer, because even suffering is seen as grace, a tool for purification. You learn to see God in everything, even in difficult people, tough situations.
And this isn't spiritual bypassing, pretending things aren't hard.
Not at all. It's sophisticated spiritual psychology. It doesn't mean being passive. It means acting, if needed, but from love and wisdom, not blame and resentment. Think about how you can apply this yourself.
Okay, like workplace conflicts. Instead of blaming the boss,
Ask, what's Krishna's arrangement? What am I meant to learn?
relationship issues. Instead of blaming your partner,
Ask, what's Krishna teaching me through this dynamic?
health problems. Don't blame circumstances.
Extract the spiritual lesson. Even betrayal, rather than fixating on the betrayer, ask, what spiritual need inside me is this whole situation revealing?
Powerful reframing.
Now, I really want you, listening, to connect with this personally. Take a moment. Think back on your own spiritual path. I bet you've had your own volcano moments, even if you didn't call them that.
What was your volcanic eruption, that apparent destruction or setback? And afterwards, what fertile ground emerged from the ashes? How did you grow stronger or more devoted, or maybe just more resilient? Can you see that pattern now, looking back?
It's often clearer in hindsight, isn't it? Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's explore why these intense transformations often happen within our spiritual communities. This brings us to relationship psychology.
Right, and here we hit the god-brother dilemma, when spiritual siblings clash. You mentioned Chitraketu and Lord Shiva both serve the same master, Lord Sankarshan.
Yes, a principal expansion of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
So technically they were god brothers in the spiritual hierarchy.
Yeah.
Both highly advanced, same lineage, but there was a huge difference in their spiritual maturity, their level of realization, a nuance in how they express their devotion. And this shows something crucial. Equal service doesn't automatically mean equal authority or equal understanding.
Like two brilliant engineers at the same company, but one's got decades more experience and a way broader view.
Exactly like that. And the deep teaching here is about humility. Real humility isn't just knowing our own place, but recognizing the positions of others relative to us, especially those who are more spiritually advanced.
Okay. And what's really amazing about Chitraketu's story is we see different ways to handle feedback, right? Like a toolkit.
Totally. We actually see 3, maybe even 4, distinct response styles to criticism and challenge. Each one is like an advanced algorithm for handling feedback.
Okay, so what's the first one?
First, the Shiva response, wise silence. This is from the Bhagavatam 6.1c.9. When Lord Shiva faced criticism, which came from Parvati, actually, at a misunderstanding, he simply smiled and remained silent. Yeah. But it wasn't passive acceptance. It was an act of profound transcendence. It protected Parvati, the critic, from committing more offense, and allowed the truth to just naturally unfold, its wisdom speaking through silence.
Okay. Then number 2.
The Chitraketu response. Humble acceptance. When he got hit with a curse, regardless of whether he thought it was fair or how harsh it sounded, Chitraketu just humbly accepted it.
Why?
He understood happiness and distress come from past actions, ultimately, and crucially, he saw the divine arrangement in all of it. He didn't blame Parvati, didn't blame himself. He saw everyone as instruments in a higher plan, total surrender.
Wow. Okay, number 3.
The Parvati response, protective correction. Now, from her side, when she felt core spiritual values were being disrespected or saw what she perceived as a grave offense, she took swift corrective action.
The curse itself.
Yes, but her motivation was described as maternal, like protecting someone from future harm. She even said, so that you will not commit such an offense again. It was action taken out of spiritual care from her perspective.
And the 4th one.
We touched on him before. The Avanti Brahmana response, transcendental gratitude. Facing systematic abuse and loss, he completely transcended victimhood. Remember, he concluded, these people are not the cause of my happiness and distress.
Right. He saw it all as grace.
Exactly. Total understanding of spiritual cause and effect, zero victim mentality, just seeing every challenge as grace.
So 4 very different responses. Shiva protects with silence. Chitraketu advances through surrender. Parvati safeguards with correction. And the Brahmana transcends with gratitude.
Each serves a different vital function in the whole spiritual ecosystem.
But here's the twist, right? Chitraketu's initial criticism of Shiva, his intentions were actually good.
That's what makes it so fascinating. He genuinely wanted to protect Lord Shiva's reputation. He thought Shiva's unconventional behavior might mislead others. His intentions were arguably pure.
So why did it go so wrong? Why the curse?
This reveals one of the most critical lessons in spiritual communication and relationships. The gap between intent and impact. Our intentions can be spotless, but the impact of our words or actions can be completely different, even harmful.
That's huge. And our main verse, Bhagavatam 6.17.19, it nails this, doesn't it?
It lays it out with revolutionary clarity. Let me read it again. In this material world, neither the living entity himself nor others, friends and enemies, are the cause of material happiness and distress. But because of gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause.
Okay, break that down. What are the big insights there?
3 revolutionary things. First, we're not the ultimate controllers. Life's waves, the ups and downs, they come from higher cosmic laws, divine will. Blaming others or even ourselves just misses the bigger picture entirely. Peace comes from surrendering to that divine orchestration.
Makes sense.
Second, ignorance creates false causation. Because our vision is limited, we wrongly assign blame where ultimately none belongs. But when you grasp that every situation, every wave, is perfectly designed for your spiritual evolution, it frees you. It shatters that victim mentality.
And third,
The river wave principle itself. Happiness and distress are temporary, like waves on a river. Both serve the same ultimate purpose in our spiritual growth. Equanimity isn't about denying joy or pain. It's about seeing them from an eternal viewpoint, recognizing they just flow past, neither having permanent power over you.
Okay, this is all great theory. How do we make this practical? How do we actually do this?
Right, let's bring it down to earth with the Chitraketu response as a practical framework. When life's waves hit you, and they will first, pause before reacting.
Just stop, breathe.
Exactly. Take a breath, like Chitraketu did. Instead of that knee-jerk blame or emotional reaction, ask, okay, what's the deeper lesson here? What is Krishna trying to teach me? And remember that crucial phrase, this too shall pass.
Okay, pause. Then what?
Second, actively choose humility over ego. Make a conscious choice to accept feedback without getting defensive. Try to find the kernel of truth, even if the criticism feels harsh. It might be a divine message in disguise.
See the divine arrangement in everything.
In all events, no matter how tough, stop assigning blame to them, to yourself. Focus on your response, the only thing you truly control, not the external circumstances.
Okay, and for relationships specifically, you mentioned the dish principle.
Yeah, we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
A stupid fight over something small, who left the dishes, who forgot to take out the trash, a miscommunication about plans.
Definitely.
These little frictions often point to deeper patterns. So the principle is, communicate explicitly about expectations. Don't assume. Appreciate the effort someone makes, even if the timing or execution isn't perfect. And just remember, you're both works in progress, learning and growing together. My partner and I once had this whole silent war over recycling rules for a week.
Oh, no.
Yeah, passive-aggressive notes, the whole thing. Turns out we just had totally different unspoken assumptions. A 5-minute explicit conversation cleared it right up, and saved a lot of grief.
That's a perfect everyday example. It shows how these big spiritual ideas play out.
Exactly. And the deeper wisdom here comes from Lord Shiva. After Chitraketu handled the curse with such grace, Shiva explained something profound to Parvati.
What was that?
He said that true, unalloyed devotees are completely unaffected by material conditions. For them, heaven, liberation, even hell, it's all the same.
All the same. How?
Because their happiness, their peace, their fulfillment comes only from their spiritual connection to Krishna, not from what's happening outside. That deep equanimity, that inner stability, that is the highest spiritual achievement.
So the modern takeaway is pretty clear. Your joy, your self-worth shouldn't hang on external validation or things going your way.
Right. Criticism stops being destructive and becomes a tool for growth. Your inner peace can stay constant, steady, no matter what waves life throws at you.
Okay, let's briefly touch on that third angle we mentioned, the neuroscience of pride. You raised the question. Chitraketu reached amazing spiritual heights as a cosmic traveler. Could that success itself have subtly, maybe rewired his thinking, setting him up for the criticism of Shiva and the curse?
It's a really insightful point. While we don't have brain scans, obviously, profound spiritual success can sometimes lead to a subtle pride, a little feeling of, I've made it, or I know better now.
Uh-huh.
And that feeling, that subtle pride, can cloud our vision just enough. It can make us a bit prone to judgment or criticism of others, just like Chitraketu judged Lord Shiva's, let's say, unconventional behavior.
So the divine algorithm steps in.
Sometimes, yes. It might introduce a sharp correction, like the curse, as a powerful error calibration. It's designed to humbly recenter our focus back on pure surrender and devotion, stopping pride from blocking our ultimate progress. In a way, it's a divine act of mercy, protecting us from our own potential pitfalls.
Wow. So we've covered a lot today. We've seen how these divine algorithms are woven into every part of our spiritual life, from cosmic physics to relationship psychology, even the subtle effects of spiritual pride. It really shifts the perspective that every challenge is a tailor-made chance for faster growth.
It really is. And as we wrap up this deep dive, we wanted to offer something a bit different to help internalize these ideas. We've tried to capture the essence of the River Waves principle in a kind of spoken word piece. Hopefully it helps etch these insights into your heart a bit. Let's have a listen.
Hands open wide, I accept what is given. Not curse, not blessing, just cosmic driven. Past actions ripple, a law unbound. Divine hands moving on sacred ground.
Happiness, distress, they slice like a blade. But I'm not the doer. A choice is made. A spirit flowing, a journey to trek. No puppet on strings, just what I select.
Like river waves, they crest and they fall. Beyond good and bad, encompassing all. What's heaven, what's hell in this fleeting play. Just temporary currents washing away. River waves, ceaseless in their pace. Finding peace in the flow, embracing grace.
Supreme Lord seated, neutral in his gaze, equal to all, through life's complex maze. Through his energy the whole show unfolds. Material cosmos where ancient wisdom holds.
I won't blame you, I won't blame me. Just playing our roles for all to see. Ignorance whispers, you're in control. But a higher power guides every soul.
Like riverways, they crest and they fall, beyond good and bad, encompassing all. What's heaven, what's hell in this fleeting play, just temporary currents washing away. River waves, ceaseless in their pace. Finding peace in the flow, embracing grace.
Mother, forgive if my words caused pain. But truth remains through sun and rain. Let anger dissolve like morning's light. In this cosmic dance, we embrace the light.
Okay, as we finish up this deep dive, let's think about how you can actually start living this river wave principle.
Yeah, some reflection for you. What's your personal version of the dishes? You know, what small conflicts in your relationships might be showing deeper patterns about communication or expectations? And really think, how can you practice responding like Chitraketu when criticism or challenges pop up this week?
And maybe ask yourself, where in your life right now are you trying to, control the river instead of just flowing with it gracefully?
So action steps for this week. Try practicing the Chitraketu response. When stuff happens, pause, accept, look for the lesson, choose growth over reaction.
And maybe in one important relationship, try having one explicit conversation about expectations, just to clear the air and prevent misunderstandings down the line.
Just remember, life's challenges, they aren't really punishments. They are opportunities, precisely tailored for your spiritual growth. When we stop fighting the current, when we learn to flow with that cosmic wisdom, we start to see that every single wave, whether it looks like a curse or a blessing at first, is perfectly designed for our evolution.
It's such a liberating thought captured in this quote. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord.
So the final provocative thought we want to leave you with is this. What's one area of your life where you can consciously decide, starting today, to stop trying to control the waves and instead start surfing them with grace and wisdom?
Because as you embrace these principles, you're not just learning about Chitraketu, you're starting to embody that same profound grace and spiritual wisdom yourself. Every challenge becomes your chance.